So, assuming you haven't been living under a rock with a Korok for the last week, you're probably already aware that Tears of the Kingdom came out. If you own a Switch, you're probably aware anyway, because anytime you check your friends list, there's basically like 50 people online playing Tears of the Kingdom at any one time. It kind of sold pretty well from what I've heard. What was it? 10 million copies?
Yeah.
In 2 days. Looking insane. Like, I see companies celebrate when a game gets 10 million copies in a month, and that is an amazing achievement, don't get me wrong, but 10 million in 2 days, Jesus Christ. So there's always been this argument over whether Zelda's even an RPG to begin with. This argument is like a conflict that's been raging longer than Link's battles with Ganondorf. But we're not going to dance that dance with this discussion. We're just going to chill and have fun and talk about the game. And I, for one, think I'm going to try and make the argument for why I don't just think that this might be the best game of the year, but possibly the best game of the last decade. I forgot how big Breath of the Wild was. Like, okay, let's put up the spoiler tags. There will be slight spoilers for the game, nothing too major. But there we go, never-ending spoiler alert. But I went to the Rito village, and for those, if you haven't been there yet, it's covered in snow now. It is basically like entirely blizzard, which sucks for the bird people, but getting around is an experience. Everything is so powerful, keeps like blindsiding me from nowhere. I can't find any of the goddamn shrines because I can see like 5 feet in front of me.
Oh.
Oh.
I easily picked the worst of all the places.
How to not get us to look forward to a specific region enters the kingdom.
Right.
Don't go to the Rito town first is all I'm saying, but that's literally all I've managed to do, and I think I've probably put like 15 hours into it easily, and it feels like I have barely scratched the surface. The guides say like 80 hours for completion, 100%, but that's only if you know what you're doing and where you need to go.
I'm probably gonna dump 200 hours easy between the sky, land, and the depths. Like there's no realistic world that I exist in that I know that that's gonna be less than 200 hours.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many you put into the original?
Breath of the
Oh, that's easy for me.
Go ahead, Tom. Oh, you just check.
I probably put 12 hours in the original. It just never clicked with me. I started and restarted over the years, probably 3 or 4 different times, and it wasn't until recently I even got out of the Great Plains or whatever that starting area is called, and it did start to click a little bit at that point, but it just never was a game that I was that interested in. But I'll say this one, it clicked right away. I feel like it does a better job of it kind of explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it's not like it holds your hand, but at the same time, it just felt more focused or something. I never felt lost like I did in the first one.
The lack of any real penalty is probably one of the best design ideas ever. It's like you can blow yourself up by making a really elaborate bomb car or bomb balloon and bombing, like just power bombing all the enemies, and then your thing blows up in your face and you die and you lose all your progress, but it's just going to spawn you back outside where all the enemies are anyway, so you can just
Yes.
be like, maybe I won't put the bomb on the front of my car this
Right.
time. Yeah, it's like
I'm happy they implemented it that way though, because even with Breath of the Wild, it was something to get used to, and I still now like I clench when I die because I'm so used to previous Zelda titles where like if you didn't save, if it didn't auto save, you lose everything.
Right.
Whereas now the only penalty that you get is if you ate the food is eaten. There's no getting that back.
Yeah. Nope. And there's definitely no lack of food in this game. And
there's not, and you can make everything. It's great.
And you could just make the fire yourself half the time in the most. You don't have to go out of your way. But one thing, Masty, a perfect example is when Masty was watching me play it. I was able to just connect a bomb to my arrow, and then I now had an exploding arrow. Whereas in the previous game, you had to go to a shop, get a currency, buy specific type of arrows, had to travel there to get them, then go back to the place you wanted to use them in. And now it's just a case of, oh, you've got 500 bombs in your inventory? Go wild.
Mm-hmm.
The original game is a classic. I don't think anyone's going to deny it's like one of the best games ever made. But this basically took every minor inconvenience of the original and turned it into a gameplay mechanic.
Just
and
the recipes, like just something small like that is huge. Like you make a meal, you cook it, and then that recipe is in your book, and you can just select those items with one click. Like just little things like that is almost like quality of life improvements.
Yeah, and the recipes, it's not like, unless you make the most like completely messed up combination of things, you'll always get something good out of it, and you can always mess around with it.
Dubious food. I am a victim of the dubious food all the time now. That's me.
I don't think I've even gotten one of those.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
What have you been mixing? The freaking mushrooms with the...
I read the descriptions like a pleb, and I'm like, okay, well, that might work with this. Oh, and let me just throw this spice in there for like ha-has.
No. Don't mess with the spices. The spices are a tricky one. A little of both. Yeah, that's a good question Mass is asking. Does that reflect your game style preferences? Or is it unusual that you didn't click with Breath of the Wild?
It was a little unusual, but yeah, sometimes open world games are just too open for me. GTA is another one I haven't been able to get into, and that's part of my ADD when, I have like a thing that I'm doing, and on the way there I pick up 12 more things to do, and then I don't know which one to do and all that it gives me anxiety. And that's not what Breath of the Wild was. Breath of the Wild, to me, I kept feeling like I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing, or am I doing this the wrong way? I felt like I was wasting my time a lot. Kind of similar to how I feel when I'm playing Minecraft. That's another one that it just has never clicked with me, and it gave me the same feeling.
I can definitely feel that. I can appreciate like what Minecraft and stuff like that are doing, but for me it's like trying to remember recipes. Like, wait, how do I make a rock again? How do I make a sword? What is the order I need to put things in? And then once you start getting to like past like the most basic of iron, I'm like, too many choices, and you don't know what to do. But Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild to a certain degree, but even more so Tears of the Kingdom, doesn't have that issue. And I think a large part is why you mentioned the blueprint, or not the blueprints, the
recipes.
The recipes. You don't need to remember it because you can just click on the recipe, and there it is. You've got your item in 2 seconds.
I wouldn't cook stuff in Breath of the Wild because I was afraid of using that ingredient. Like, oh crap, I'm going to need this for something. Yeah, and I don't have that fear at all in this game. There's plenty of resources around. If I need an apple for something, I can find one pretty quickly.
A slight spoiler, you can eventually get the ability to save blueprints for your creations.
That would be cool.
Physical creations. You can set... One of the most ingenious things is I just saw someone create a blueprint of like 30 apples. Just all combined together. Oh, and if you use the blueprint, it has like an aura, and it will pick up any object in the area and immediately construct the thing for you.
Ah,
Like
Nice.
like fucking Jean
like
Grey
a Lego game.
kind of, yeah, or Lego games, yeah. So the person basically took the blueprint of all the apples, went into an orchard, and it's like, vroom. And then they just dropped them on the ground and like click, 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 click. 50 apples in their inventory in like 10 seconds.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
and then of course, if you want, you can just build a mech robot because, or a flying. Sorry, I keep turning it on and off. A flying dive bomber with lasers and missiles. Just, it's the wild. Like it makes the madness of the original look tame. It's. Should we talk? Do you guys know about the special area?
Special
I don't think
area?
so.
I think you did mention it for a second, Drew. Are you okay with being spoiled about it?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I'm probably not going to remember anything spoiler
Wow.
related, to be honest, because they're
Oh,
just
we're
much
so glad to
game.
have you here, Drew.
No, that's what I meant. You know what I meant about the game, man.
Of course. Just realized
I know what you're saying. I'm the same way with spoilers. Like somebody will spoil a movie for me. I'll watch it 2 weeks later. I have no idea what they said. Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, did that just happen?
Oh
We're
man,
not-
I was playing something on stream. What was it? Oh gosh, somebody. I had never played it before. It'd been out for years, and somebody mentioned something that happened in the story. And sure enough, when I finally got to that point in the game, I'd completely forgotten the conversation. So it was all new to me. I think it might have been like something in Mass Effect.
Man,
Yeah, it was Mass Effect.
replaying
And
Final Fantasy VII must have been a trip for you in that case.
Oh yeah, like the rediscovery of everything that I had gone into in the original Final Fantasy VII. There was stuff that even some of the folks that were watching and playing along that have played it multiple times, they were like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." I'm like, "I guess so."
There's a lot of that. Like even people will say completely different things depending on who you have in your party. In certain locations, including that very special scene with that certain character, they all react in like completely different ways. And it's just wonderful going through it and seeing that sort of thing. But okay, so there is a location in Tears of the Kingdom called the Chasm. One of you did mention that, and yeah,
I've seen one. I haven't been in it yet.
It was in none of the advertising. So basically, it's not just Hyrule and the sky areas. There's also an entire Hyrule-sized map underground. And I'm not joking, it's the same size. One of the cool things that I picked up is the temples above ground are in the exact same location as the light sources below ground.
So is it like an upside down?
It's literally upside down Hyrule in darkness. If there is a mountain in the area in Hyrule, it's a chasm. It basically replicates like one for one, but it's completely dark. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that was one thing that helped me realize why you pick up so many of those bulbs at the start. I don't know if you've both had this experience with it, but like I started to pick up these plant light bulbs, and I was like, why are there so many of these littered?
Yeah, I'm like, I can see fine. What's the deal?
Yeah, I had like 100 of them in my inventory when I finally fell in this place, and I was like, oh, this makes sense now.
Okay, so first thing you do once you get access to the wheels, get a plank of wood, put 2 wheels on the side, get the control stick, and stick a light root on the back of the car, and that will make your life through the chasm so much easier because you'll actually be able to see where you're going.
That's awesome.
And by doing the quest line that's down there, you can get the ability to save the blueprints of your. That's how you get it, by completing a mission down there.
Noted.
The first town you go to, there's a well. You can access the chasm by just jumping in that well.
Oh, see, I've really enjoyed the wells in this game. Have y'all gotten a chance to jump in any wells yet?
I assumed all
I have
wells
not.
just led to the chasm now.
Some of them are like little caves. And so like you'll see like the bubble frogs or like little lizards. Sometimes you get a chest, sometimes you don't. Like anytime I see a well now, I'll jump in there to see what's in store for
Make
Link
sure you
today.
have your paraglider. If you fall into the chasm without your paraglider, you will just hit the floor and die. It's beautiful.
I can't tell you how many times I've already done that. So I'm like, this is par for the course.
Yeah,
Great.
I've never been so happy to die in a video game. Masty mentions that you can get the horse down there. Don't say anything more, but it has unique horses.
That's exciting. That's really exciting because like as much as I love Epona, because all of your horses from your Breath of the Wild save come over. So when you finally do find a stable, you can get your horses back. For whatever reason, and this might be a me thing, so take this with a grain of salt. I can't stand the horse controls, and I don't know if it's just Epona.
The horse
me too.
controls.
Okay. All right. They're garbage. They're trash. But I mean,
Yeah, they're not great.
there's so many different ways to travel. I just brush it off.
Every time I'm on a horse, I'm like, am I missing something? Why is this? Did I miss a tutorial?
So what's actually going on there is horses have degrees of like autonomy, and the more like poorly trained wilder horses couldn't move by themselves. Essentially, this is actually similar to what they did in Shadow of the Colossus, and people hated that too because they keep using the mentality that I have to control the horse. No, the horse will control the horse. You're just steering the horse. If you just
Argo and me, we were tight words.
But so many people got so frustrated when they went on the bridge, and the bridge goes like this, like the big stone bridge, and people started like trying to move the controller, and then they're like, why is he crashing into the side of the walls? Because he was, or she it's because she already knew which way she needed to go. So you just let the horse move naturally, and they will figure out like what the proper route.
Mine likes to run me right into like a little troll camp or something.
But it's a really friendly horse, obviously. They just wanted to say hello.
Maybe I just need to approach it the same way I approached Shadow of the Colossus. However, there's one thing in that game that I'll never forget. Argo literally abandoned me when I was facing one of the Colossuses. Because I was doing my thing and I was like, come over here. And Argo was like, absolutely not. So I'm just waiting for Epona to do something.
Survival of the fittest, buddy. You're on your own.
Okay.
Come out of here. I'm not getting crushed by this giant just so you can go on your slaughtering spree of giant, beautiful creatures. Such a great game.
One thing about Tears, though, that I'm really, really enjoying so far is the fact that while there are so many new abilities that you can do and so much to do in the game, nothing feels out of place or so new that it's jarring, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like even with the adding stuff to the arrows when you're shooting, you're like, oh, I couldn't do that before. Or like with the recipe books, oh, that wasn't there before. It's very, very refreshing to me to have these new features feel like it's supposed to be a part of the game instead of something that was just slapped on there like a lot of newer games feel sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought at first when I was playing it, I was wondering like, were they working on a separate game that was all about building and constructing, and then they just added that on to, the Zelda sequel? But it doesn't, I don't think that's what happened at all. It feels so natural to the world, but they have such a complete polished mechanic. It feels like it could have been its own thing, totally separate from the rest of the game. And then you throw everything else on top of that, I think is part of why it seems so magical.
I apologize profusely. I was so engaged in this conversation, completely forgot to load up Drew's amazing 20 minutes of footage
Don't give me credit for this gameplay.
that he recorded. No, Drew, because I couldn't set up my Elgato in order to record a Switch, Drew, super skilled gameplay that you'll get to see here of him just like absolutely destroying the skill ceiling in this game. And I'm sorry, that was mean.
Just tell people in the chat it's trash.
No, it's great. It's fun though, because that's the fun of the game. Like nobody's good at Zelda because it's like you have this big, or Tears of the Kingdom, because you have this big elaborate plan, and then the enemy just one shots you, and you're like, there goes my plan.
Inoxus, I'm looking at you. Those things are beasts. Have you run into those yet?
The game is hard. Like, actually, significantly. I don't think I have run into them. If I see anything that's like less than like this size, I'm like,
really?
I'm staying well away from. I always take the longest route around, as long as there's
I'm a stealth gamer. Yeah, I'm sneaking by.
We touched on this in our conversation. I am not.
Yeah.
I will be like, all right, we're gonna try. We're gonna go for this today. Let's see if I can do it.
Check out that shield, by the way. It's a minecart.
It is.
So I did that. I did that, and I have to admit, I was not trying to do that. I was trying to attach something to something else, and then that happened. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
It was the first hour spent trying to figure out the controls.
Oh man. It just makes me feel better, right? Because y'all are having very similar experiences to me. Because at first, I'm just like, I'm very goal oriented when it comes to big games like this. Because like you, I don't like that whole huge list of things and then getting lost and overwhelmed.
Right.
So the fact that folks are making similar mistakes to me and having this similar experience makes it feel a lot better than seeing all these people on TikTok and Instagram with all these like massive laser filled things that they've built. I'm like, I'm happy if I can get a car together. I don't know how y'all are doing this.
Yeah, somebody eventually is going to make like a working computer and they can like calculate their taxes or something with this thing.
I don't know if the system is. Unfortunately, there is like a build limit. I think it's like 200 objects. Also, only because the Switch would probably burn in your hands and like incinerate your cartridge if you tried to.
Well, that's a whole other topic. I mean, isn't it amazing that it runs this game at all? I mean, I have not run into any issues like buggy or anything weird. I cannot imagine any other major release having this kind of a mechanic and there not being weird crap going on left and right.
If you get a little wild with the physics, it does drop a bit, but generally, and even compared to the original, it's a lot more stable. Anyone who remembers the Master Sword in the first game, like, do you enjoy 4 FPS? Because the area where you get the Master Sword, it's like frame rate.
Really?
Yeah, it dies. Like that area has just completely kills the frame rate in that area. Like, and I don't think they ever managed to patch it. There's just too many particle effects. But there are 1 or 2 areas where it dips slightly. But for the most part, it's just been buttery smooth 30. We could get into the whole 60 FPS thing, but this is not.
Just show you that, like, even if you choose not for the 60 frames per second, that's so like commonplace nowadays, you can still get an excellent experience out of it. Because like never once. Because don't get me wrong, I love the fluidity of 60 frames per second. Don't get me wrong, like this game in 60 frames per second would be nuts. But the fact that the amount of stuff you can do in the game, everything that you're playing through it, and it's running smoothly on what's considered dated hardware at this point, is a feat in and of itself.
There was some nice skateboarding.
Do you think it gets a pass because it's on dated hardware? I mean, if this exact same game came out on one of the other consoles, do you think the graphics would ding it more?
Thank you for that. Is a good hard question. I think the hardware is what it is. Like at the end of the day, it's 6-year-old hardware, so it has to be designed around these specs. We'll
Right.
probably get like a 60 FPS 4K version on the Switch 2 in 2027. Would it be would it be better at 60? Absolutely, 100%. But this is not Bayonetta. This is not Street Fighter 6. You are not like precision timing anything to the point where you need 60 FPS like a certain first person shooter by Microsoft. Imagine playing a first person shooter in 30 FPS. That would be painful. Drew, you were putting up your hand.
Oh, I was waving because
Oh.
I try not to interrupt, but I still want to recognize if somebody says hello in chat. So I like
Oh,
give
I
a
thought
little
you
wave.
were like me, pick me. I want to say
No,
something.
no, 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 no.
Uh,
I tried to be uninterruptive. I failed. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I didn't mean to like break your tangent on Redfall and your Microsoft hatred. My apologies. I didn't
I do not
want
hate
to.
Microsoft. Hi-Fi Rush was bloody amazing. Hi-Fi Rush was fucking amazing. Some of my
Really
favorite.
good.
I am a simp for Game Pass. I will encourage everyone to get Game Pass. Just don't play Redfall.
I haven't
Forza,
even
bloody
yet.
amazing. Forza games,
Yes.
legendary. Always work amazing. Literally genre defining. Halo, bloody fantastic. Not the last few, but play Halo Reach for days. It's amazing. It's on PC now, so you've no. Lots of little obscure things like Recore. I actually like Recore despite its negative criticism. It's like you just make these little robots in it like a desert. So it's an old one.
Okay.
But yeah, Microsoft are cool. Redfall is not. Anyway, this is Zelda. This is a game that is out now, and I think we could just keep gushing about this for the next hour if we wanted to. We're not going
really
to, but feel free to just ramble about just whatever else has impressed you about this.
But well, to Tom's point and your question about it getting a pass, I don't think it does get a pass just because it's on data hardware. I think it comes down to it's more acceptable because of the content of the game. If the game sucked, it'd be a much different conversation.
Right.
I feel
Right.
like if it was just god awful, because that was one of my fears before the game came out. I was like, y'all are hyping it up. I don't remember Breath of the Wild needing this much hype around it before it came out. And like you're having several different directs about it. Like, what are we not seeing? Is it because it's so big? Is it because you're not showing everything? Like, why are you talking about it this much? And then finally getting my hands on it and finally experiencing like it is one of the best games
And
of
you
all time.
realize that, like, despite all those directs, they basically showed you nothing.
Yeah, they really didn't.
That is crazy to me.
I actually love that quote. It's like a good game, a bad game is not going to get better if you give it a 60 FPS patch. A good game is still going to be a good game even if it's at 30. It's not going to be as good, but that's like saying it's a 9.5 instead of a 9.7. Like,
Right.
and
But there's a ton of 10 out of 10s and all that, and it is curious to me that to me a 10 out of 10 is pretty much a flawless game, and I do think one flaw is the graphics. It's not a deal-breaking flaw. It's not that big of a deal, and you forget about it almost immediately. So maybe that's the thing. But I personally I couldn't give it a 10 out of 10 on that reason alone.
can we all agree that a perfect game doesn't exist?
Yes.
I believe perfection is in the eye of the beholder for video games. Like, because something that's going to be perfect to you or perfect to Tom is not going to necessarily be perfect to me.
Right.
And vice versa.
Perfect example being Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Feel free to elaborate.
But like, from a technical standpoint, no, I don't think it's possible. With the nature of programming, everybody's play style being different, what you can do, what you can't do, if something got missed in Q&A, it's just not I don't feel like it's physically possible for a game to be completely perfect. it's not within the realm of reason to expect that.
But if you're rating games, could you give a game that you've played a 10 out of 10? Because I don't think I could. I can't. I think back of all the games I've loved and my favorite games, and I don't think, to your point, like there's no such thing as a perfect game. To me, a 10 out of 10 game, that's hard to define for me.
As someone who used to be a professional critic, now I'm just an amateur critic. Even if I gave a game a 10 out of 10, that it goes back to what you said to me, that like it's perfect to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, like, something I wish I could teach every human being on the planet? A review is just a person's subjective opinion. It does not validate your existence. Loving the wind weapon, by the way. Piece of wood, just phew. Absolutely love it. Like, the enemy can't hurt you if they can't get near you. And this, to me, would be a 10 out of 10. Not because it's perfect, because I think that, like, when you start doing like 9.5, 9.7, it's just being purely semantics, and like you can't really quantify that. But I do think you can quantify a 0 to 10. And
so does that mean you enjoy it as much as you can possibly enjoy it?
There is nothing about this game I don't enjoy. There's never been a single moment where I feel frustrated or annoyed, and that to me is the perfect video game.
Yeah.
I think we're still going to be talking about this game in 10 years.
Yep.
Even more than Breath of the Wild, which, although was initially, like, people didn't expect it to be as good as it was going to be. Like, it didn't. Like, let's not forget what Zelda was before this game. Before Breath of the Wild, I mean, like, it was a very different series. We didn't think Nintendo was capable of this kind of game because there was all like linear progression, dungeons, yada, yada, yada. And then they're like, this actually has more in common with the first Zelda game ever than any other Zelda.
Well, and
sorry, go ahead.
The creative leads did say that this is what they plan on using as kind of their foundation for future Zelda games too.
They should.
Very excited. Like, where do we even go from here?
What was that?
Where do we even go from here?
I mean, the Hyrule is their oyster. Heck, they could throw another layer under the depths, another layer above sky. They could take Link to space. For all I know.
I was going to say that, but I didn't think you were actually going to go there.
Dude, how cool would that be?
No, we're not going to space.
Link's just like floating around and around. It'd be so funny. It'd be so funny.
Yeah,
it'd be ridiculous.
I can see it now. Zelda, Attack of the Space Chickens. We'll finally understand why the chickens hate Link so much.
It'd be so good. There's like a side mission to defeat the chickens. After all of the accosting that Link has taken from the chickens that he brought upon himself.
And after you complete that mission, they all like you now.
Yeah, it'd be so good.
You can retroactively go back and patch out the chicken hate from the previous games.
If you have any save files from any of the previous Zelda games, they all get patched over.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
They have the Switch Online, so you just patch it into those games there.
They can. They absolutely can.
We did
Nintendo's not much for online play, but one direction they could go with it is MMO or multiplayer, all in kind of a shared space.
Brave. I don't think Nintendo would ever make an MMO.
No.
They would,
but that's why they would.
No, because an MMO costs money, and Nintendo is like, we're going to spend as little as possible to get this product made. And like, we're still making a great product, but like, also that would require servers, which we know Nintendo just doesn't have.
Well,
It
the
used to be
Advance Wars
mainly
game,
online.
it says right on the box, we've got online multiplayer, but there's no matchmaking. You can like select a person in your friends
That's
list and
because it's
start
all
a
like
game with them.
peer-to-peer stuff. They're not going to pay for that
Yeah.
shit. What do you think your Twitch subscription or your Twitch your Switch your subscription is paying for?
Right.
Performance enhancements? Like, it's no, it's just to give them money. You will accept your terrible Wi-Fi based online multiplayer and you will love it.
I really wish they would just upgrade the online component. Just borrow somebody's. I don't
Right.
care. Partner with somebody that wants to handle
Microsoft's
it.
got a few servers over here since nobody's playing Redfall.
Like,
Man,
seriously.
Microsoft had this figured out 20 years ago. You know, like they had a better online service with the original launch version of Xbox Live.
Hey, yeah. But you have to remember that was pioneering back then. It took Nintendo until the Switch to like catch up, so to speak. We actually have proper friends like
Caught
this
up
now.
though. Like,
Yeah.
let's not give them credit. Let's not give them credit there, because I love Nintendo. Some would call me a Nintendo fanboy, but the one thing that they do not do
No.
is online. They they don't get it.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not that I don't think they don't get it. It's that they are a minimalist company who are like, we will spend as little as we need to. They will budget a game to make it a really good game, but they will not put down large sums of money unless they have to.
I want to believe you so bad, but words, look how long it's been and how many consoles we've had with online implementations that have been garbage.
But yeah, and here's the thing, they're not spending that money and they're still the biggest performer in the market. They literally don't need to because you suckers are going to buy their shit anyway. Like you're going to buy Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, even though the online sucks, and I'm just as guilty.
It's the properties,
I have my
man.
steel box of Smash Bros. Right here.
So pretty. Wait, do they still have the Nintendo seal of approval on anything anymore? I'm trying to. Oh, they do. Okay.
You know that was always a gimmick.
I believed it. Don't ruin my childhood.
The Nintendo seal of approval means we put this company into a 2-year exclusivity deal that stops people from getting it on the Mega Drive, and I felt that being a Mega Drive fanboy. Where are my Switch cases? The original Nintendo seal of the seal of quality.
Mm-hmm. You know, they took off the newer products.
Quest Builder. What?
It doesn't have quality in the verbiage anymore.
It does on mine.
They're not going to promise that.
Official Nintendo seal. Look, if you can see it.
Well, I guess we're Europeans, so clearly we care about quality. Sorry, I don't know why I'm being so spicy today. I'm usually not this.
We bring it out of you. I don't know.
Yeah, official Nintendo seal of quality.
Does it say quality?
Wow.
You probably can't see that from there. Yes, it says quality. You're just gonna have to take my word for it.
Apparently, Americans, quality's out the door. I don't know.
We don't care.
Anyway, Zelda.
Zelda.
Any final thoughts?
I do like the idea of an MMO though, Tom. I appreciate that a lot. And if they did something like Tears of the Kingdom MMO or same style, something that'd be cool. But I feel like they are going to botch that online component.
Yeah, maybe something as simple as a co-op mode. That would be really cool.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think we would get a MMO, but I do think they would probably consider some sort of multiplayer. Finally making Zelda a playable character.
Yeah. Amen. I want that. My daughter wants that.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that. She's the name of the game.
It's her game.
Can we stop having her conveniently knocked out at the start of every single game. I mean, they can say like, here, credit to the Zelda franchise for the last, when was the 90s? 30 years ago. For the last 30 years, they've gone out of their way to not make her a damsel in distress. Like Ocarina of Time, freaking amazing. She's like super badass character in that. Don't want to spoil it too much for for the 5 people who haven't played Ocarina of Time. Wind Waker, she's a badass pirate. Love it. In this game, sorry, not this game, Breath of the Wild, she's technically saving the world and stuff. Like she's trying to hold Ganon back, but she's still constantly sidelined. She's still put in a situation where she's not the damsel, but she's still not proactively involved in the narrative, and that's what I want to see.
Right. She's active so far, at least in this one, but it's off screen. She's doing things.
Doing things.
People have heard about her doings. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you really, if you scan the locations with a fine-tooth comb, you might even find out about them. Like, does anyone know why this is called Tears of the Kingdom?
Yes. At least I hope. I don't know if y'all. So this might be spoilery. I don't know if you've gotten this far yet, so you might want to put the spoiler warning. I happened upon one of the story missions.
Okay.
And you find not the glyphs. Well, do they call them glyphs? I can't remember.
I don't remember the exact name, but yeah.
In various different parts of the world, you'll find these ginormous glyphs, and you look in specific points, and you find tears, which are actually liquid parts, and it starts to unveil where is Zelda, what's going on, XYZ, and it's in the shape of a tear. And then right in the beginning, this one isn't a spoiler, she grabs that tear, which gets shot out of that zombie looking dude's face, I think it is, or something. I can't remember. And that's in the shape of a tear. So it has to do with whatever's going on and who's causing all this gloom. Ganon, probably.
I was convinced until the game came out that the Tears of the Kingdom was just meant to be the objects falling from the sky. Because I thought it would have been an interesting metaphor, but no, they are an actual physical thing. And that's how you find out the backstory. Like, if you want to know what's going on in that game, check a guide.
Tears.
I only found like one of them on my own so far, and it's not easy to find them. So yeah, final verdict on Tears of the Kingdom.
So good. Go play it. It's worth the extra cost. Worth the extra $10 that you would pay on a Switch game.
If you were on the fence or didn't enjoy the previous one like me, I think it's still worth giving it a shot, because I'm enjoying this one so much more.
Hey there folks, welcome to the end of the video. If you got this far, please allow me to just take a moment of your time to let you know that we do the show every second Sunday over on Twitch. We basically just sit down, myself, Gamer Tom, and our guest, and just talk about RPGs. Any relevant discussion, news, reviews, look backs, that sort of thing. If you want to support us, you can actually have some input on the games that we discuss, as well as the topics, and you can do that over on Patreon, same URL as here. That's TNEQL. So please consider checking that out. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you stay beautiful. Take care.